Norway has a population of just 5.5 million people, making it smaller than many major cities. Yet it controls an investment fund worth over $1.8 trillion. That is enough capital to hand every single citizen hundreds of thousands of dollars right now. But the government keeps almost all of that money locked firmly away. A century ago, the national economy relied on the manual labor of fishing and farming. Many citizens even emigrated for better opportunities abroad. The high salaries and luxury associated with the country today are a recent development, a sharp break from its historical trajectory. In 1969, engineers struck enormous oil reserves beneath the freezing waters of the North Sea. Economists call this the resource curse. It maps how easy money triggers inflation, corruption, and weakens domestic industries. When prices crash, the entire economy, now dependent on a single export, violently collapses. While an oil strike looked like a winning lottery ticket, the 1969 discovery was actually a dangerous economic trap, a trap that had already bankrupted dozens of other resource-rich nations around the world. Instead of figuring out how quickly they could spend these new profits, lawmakers asked how the money could enrich future generations who hadn't even been born yet. They established the Government Pension Fund Global. This vehicle reinvests oil revenue into the global economy to generate compounding returns rather than storing it locally. To prevent domestic inflation from skyrocketing, they pump almost all oil profits far away from their borders, injecting the capital directly into international markets. This map tracks that outward flow. The fund systematically buys up shares across the globe, currently holding roughly 1 to 2% of every publicly traded company on Earth. As companies in Silicon Valley and manufacturers in Asia grow, Norway earns a steady yield. They tied their national checkbook to global growth, decoupling their survival from the price of their own oil. Moving all the money offshore solves inflation, but it leaves an enormous pile of cash vulnerable to political pressure and short-term spending. This graphic illustrates their strict spending rule. Lawmakers are limited to spending a small fraction of the annual returns, while the central principle remains untouched. It means harvesting the apples every single season, instead of chopping down the tree's trunk for temporary firewood. That mathematical barrier stops reckless spending in its tracks. It guarantees the country will still be collecting interest long after the last drop of oil is pumped. An offshore account and a spending rule look good on paper, but they fail immediately without rigorous enforcement. The actual mechanism keeping the account secure is a culture of low corruption, transparent institutions, and a deep trust between the public and their government. Because they had the discipline to wait, a nation once defined by fishing and manual labor is now one of the safest and happiest societies on the planet. Finding oil gave Norway an opportunity. The restraint to avoid wasting it gave them a future.